Welcome to our kitchen. Today we prepare ancient Greek nanos, a savory cheesecake mentioned in Athenaeus' De Hypnosophists, written around the 2nd century. We start with the ingredients. We need flour, cheese, olive oil, and bay laurel leaves. We mince the cheese and knead it with the flour and olive oil, adding 2 pinches of salt. We used about 300 grams of cheese, 150 grams of flour, and 50 milliliters of olive oil. As for the cheese, we chose caciotta, but you can use other types of cow, goat, or sheep cheese, fresh or aged, depending on your preference, since the recipe doesn't specify the type of cheese to use. Some options can be scamorza or provola, very similar to cheeses described by Columella in the 1st century, as well as cheeses such as pecorino or primosale. If the cheese you use is particularly salty, you can omit salt. This dish is placed among recipes for placuntes in Athenaeus' book, which include a variety of sweet and savory cheesecake recipes. However, in this book's list, it seems that many different kinds of dishes can be considered placuntes, essentially including most of the preparations described in Cato's De Agricultura. Not only cakes like savillum and placenta, which is a Latinization of the Greek placus, but also fried dishes. Typical ingredients for placuntes, in addition to cheese, are lard or olive oil, honey, sesame seeds, nuts, figs, and eggs. There is very little information about the recipe we are presenting today. Athenaeus only writes that it is a dish of the nature of placus, made with cheese and olive oil. The author doesn't specify the consistency or form, nor does he mention whether it is meant to be fried or baked. Since one of the most common shapes of placuntes is a cake, we opted to make it into this form, following the recipe for another typical ancient cheesecake that was considered a placus by the Greek author Chrysippus of Tyana. We are talking about libum. We excluded the eggs mentioned in Cato's recipe, because they are not listed among the ingredients in Athenaeus' recipe. However, if you choose a hard cheese for your nanos, and grate it instead of kneading it with the flour, adding an egg could improve the consistency of the dough, as could adding more olive oil or a little water. Regarding the amount of flour, Cato provides 2 options. We can use either common wheat, called siligo, or durum wheat, called similago. In the former case, the recommended proportion is half the quantity of the cheese. In the latter case, Cato suggests adding 1/4. We lay the nanos on bay laurel leaves and bake it in the oven for about half an hour. To learn more about cheesecakes throughout history, read our book, Early Italian Recipes, Cereals, Bread, Pasta and Pies, which contains recipes from the antiquity to the end of the Renaissance, along with an extensive introduction about cereals and types of preparations according to primary sources on dietetics, agriculture, and cuisine. For information about ancient food, check out our book, Ancient Roman Cooking. On Patreon, you will also find several translations of ancient and medieval sources, including the recipes from Cato's De Agricultura and Columella's De Re Rustica. as well as articles on historical food. For more books on food history, see the description below, where you'll also find the links to Biosabir and purchase our merchandise. This nanos was amazing, with a few selected ingredients that were perfectly balanced. The blend of flavors from the cheese, olive oil, and bay laurel leaves made the cake fragrant and tasty, giving us the opportunity to try one of the many ways cheesecakes were prepared in the ancient Mediterranean world, as a typical Greek food. If you're interested in ancient foods and flavors, subscribe our channel and consider supporting us on Patreon.